Hi, we're here in Fort Worth, Texas at a place called Connex. It's an office complex made up of about, I don't know, almost 40 shipping containers. Most of those shipping containers are 20-foot shipping containers. High cube, they're 9'6" or so high, but they're stacked on top of each other. There's also a couple of 40-footers that span across to kind of create a really cool bridge and a private suite. And I'll show you that too. Come on, I'm gonna show you a little bit. Some of the things I want to show you are details, some things that you might be able to use in your own shipping container house or your office. Hey, if you're going to make a boathouse, that's fine too. I've done it myself. So let me show you some really cool details as well on this walkthrough. This is a 3-story shipping container office complex, and each one of these are 20-foot long shipping containers. So you've got 160 square feet of shipping containers, 20 times 8. And the tenants in here include the American Institute of Architects. Hey, I feel like I'm at home. It's the Fort Worth chapter. And there's also a conference area. There's a coffee bar. There's a cannabis store right here. There's all kinds of creative offices. Looks like maybe some graphic designers are here. Come on over here. So over here you've got this big atrium. This atrium here has got this 40-foot container that bridges across, and on both sides of it is a private garden, a private deck. And then at the very roof, making the roof and giving shelter to this atrium, are solar panels. So you get a lot of rays for the solar panels. They've got area here for the mail, and all the floor here are planks. They're planks made of the recyclable materials, which is really cool. The foundation in this area, most of it looks like it's slab on grade. There are some that are elevated up. They've got stairs that are pan stairs. They're poured concrete treads and metal stringers. Here's an office area, kind of a there's a conference room over here. Another thing they did is they opened up this whole side here, put a whole storefront, and this right here they stacked 2 on top of each other, and it's a 2-story high space. 2-story high space, and also double width in the depth. They've got areas here where they have their mail slots. There's also a mail room back there. Everything is air conditioned, looks like, with a split air unit. So each one of these units is servicing each one of the separate offices. Some of the spaces are still vacant if you're interested in renting it. Above us, you can see the structure. They built up on the structure, and that structure right there is supporting a green roof, and it has its own irrigation system. So they have bridges across that span from one shipping container to the other, and there's different catwalk kind of things that goes along in front of rental office spaces. And most of those, like I said, are 20-footer. And then they have surface mounted lighting that is LEDs to be able to light up the space. Come on, let's go upstairs and see what's up there. One thing on this landing is that they've actually filled in with a backer rod, and then they actually have some kind of sealant, so that because when shipping containers are stacked, there's still a gap. And I'm going to show you where they didn't do that upstairs, but doing it here, obviously it keeps the moisture from going in there and deteriorating the top roof of this bottom shipping container. You can see that there's a metal mesh that allows air and light to come through, but it just defines the space really nicely. Here they've got a roof garden, and the roof garden has its own irrigation, so they can just kind of put it into play and let it mind its own business and let it support itself. Here's what it looks like with an empty office space. They've got carpet, and they've got gypsum board on one side. They've got the the other part of the split air system on the wall. And then on this side, they also have gypsum board, but there are other spaces just like this, 30-footers, that is, it's got corrugation on the one side and they got gypsum board on the other. They definitely had to put gypsum board on one side to allow for the electricity to be run behind the wall, the finished wall. Here's one that has actually no gypsum board on one side, and we've got gypsum board on the right side, and there you can see that they do have electric hookups and a telephone hookups along with the air conditioning unit. This is the top part of that double height space, and over here you can see that it's double height. They've got a skylight over there, and then all of this is display space down below, and it gives it some really nice sense of scale. What they did too is when they opened up the side of the shipping containers, they seem to have used a grinder as opposed to a laser cutter or a torch. And the reason why I can tell that is on some of the hinges, you can see how rough they are in its cut. Like here, you can see all the roughness on the hinge. They cut the doors off with a grinder because it's got that roughness. Otherwise, if it was torch, it'd be a little bit smoother, and you'd also see some blobs of metal that kind of melted on either side. Here it's still pretty operable. So on this side, we're still on the second floor. They have used shipping containers. Here's one that is not used as office space. In fact, this is their electric closet. And then over here, they have another one that's used for the men's and women's restroom. And then over here, it starts, there's also the units for the split system. And what you can see here is a grating. That grating goes all the way down. Every floor has got a grating underneath these. And the best I can tell, even though it's open on the side with wind and air coming through, perhaps the mechanical engineer wanted even more air circulation, so they have the floor open, which is a very open flooring to allow for air to pass through, to be able to allow for these compressors to regenerate. Then they've got more offices here, and as you can see, they're all stepped back, just like a wedding cake, with its own guardrails on the edge. Another thing you need to find out with your building code and your officials is when you're doing a guardrail, usually the guardrails have to be at least 42 inches, which this seems to be. And it also has to withstand certain lateral forces. That's on the code. And the other part is the spacing of these spindles have to be a maximum distance of usually just under 4 inches. And it's so that you cannot put a 4-inch sphere through here, or a 4-inch ball. And usually that is having to do with a child's head. They don't want a child to fall through and hit the bottom and injure themselves. Remember me talking about that space that's between the top and the bottom shipping containers and how they put a backer rod and sealed between them. This is that was between the first and second floor. This is between the second and the third floor, and they did not do that. I don't know why not. It seems like a good idea. In fact, you can kind of see some staining where the water has been ponding on the roof. It seems like a good idea to cover that. You can also see these welded panels here. Those welded panels are covering actual slots. Those slots were made by the manufacturer of the shipping containers to allow for the forklifts to pick them up and lift them up and stack them on top of each other. And now that they're stacked and they're presumably never going to go anywhere, they filled these up with a metal plate and welded around there. They also had to shim it a little bit with more of a metal plate. And coincidentally, that metal plate seems to be the same thickness that they used when they cut the openings for the windows and the doors. They use these plates to frame the rough opening before they put their doors, and they have aluminum doors and aluminum windows, kind of like a storefront windows on the outside face. They also use prefab flooring. You can see the edge here. It would be nice if they had a little bit of better detail where you do not see the irregular jumps and bumps, but I guess that's the industrial look they were looking for, along with this surface mounted conduit, electric conduit for the electric. When shipping containers are originally designed to go out on sea, the metal itself has corten on it, and the corten is designed to rust. And I can see that they have also added metal, these metal tubes, and these are bordering the stairwell. The stairwell has these metal tubes, and they're painted gray, but they're starting to rust. And that may be by accident, but it actually kind of works with the theme of a shipping container, because shipping containers are designed to rust, but actually the rust itself helps protect the outside face of the shipping containers. Now, with that said, they did paint on the outside of all these shipping containers different colors, which is kind of cool. But generally speaking, with the corten metal, it's designed to rust and protect itself with the rust. When you're designing stairs, you're going to find that you're going to have to extend the top railing at least the thickness, at least the depth of the first tread, which is usually about 11 inches. I usually allow for about 13 or 14 inches from the first tread to come out here. It's usually a code that's requiring it, and the municipalities I work in, you need to check with yours. Then you can see over here, they got a private deck. We talked about that. We're on the 3rd floor, and they have their own offices and their own private deck looking out to a really starting to be a little bit overgrown and nicely grown green roof with its own irrigation, just like this one over here was a green roof with its own irrigation. We're in the winter months now, and so the plant life is not too green. I presume that during the summer, spring and summer, they may even have flowers, wildflowers growing here as far as I know. Then we have more of the same. We have 20-foot shipping containers. Each one is a separate office space. And over here we got 2 side by side. They're separate office spaces. And then we've got the 40-foot ones that we talked about when we're down on the ground floor. And over here, they added a metal plate across here. And on the outside, instead of exposing just the metal shipping containers, the corrugated metal, what they did is they put a 2x6 as blocking, and then they're nailing the prefab flooring on the side of the wall as a siding. So you can kind of see exactly what they did even from this cross section. And here's the detail of that. You can see that it's not real straight, and you're going to be able to see that some of the water is going to be allowed to go in there, but this is called a rain screen. And the rain screen is designed to allow for the water to pass behind it. With that said, they really shouldn't have this 2x6 going the full length of this all the way across. You would want it to stop so the water has a way to weep out of the wall, but they did not detail it the way I would. Everybody's got a better way, right? Different planters. Here's the double height space looking down. And then they have their own skylight here on the 3rd level. Very creative. Here's a typical office space with the carpet, and they have a desk or 2. This one's the one that has a private deck. And they have gypsum board on both sides, using one of the sides as a white wall. Well, I was trying to figure out what this yellow structure is for in front of it, and as far as I can tell, it's more an aesthetic element than anything structural. Then on the front, they also have a electric filling station, and right in front, so very appropriate to be in front of a shipping container office building. Another cool thing about the area here is, you can see how it's stepped out. We talked about that from the inside, and that's stepping out. And the structure that's supporting it, I'm not seeing that they actually added any beams to support the cantilever. And they also put the paving for the parking is a plastic system that interlocks with each other. It's called true grid, and these little nodes here are what they use to designate where the parking spots are. And then they fill it all with gravel in between, which what that does is allow for this area to be permeable. And in your town, you might find that to be really advantageous because they may limit how much square footage you can have in your building because of the impermeable space flooring. So this might actually help on increasing the size of your designed building. Yeah, we're talking about the room, that box right here is used as an electric closet. And it's because that's where the electric service is coming in for the entire complex right there. And the foundation here on this side is on piers. They use, looks like sonotubes. But over in the other area, they have slab on grade, I saw. It's poured, full poured slab right here. It's all concrete right there. Here's an interesting detail. They've got, this is where the green roof is. And you see that rusty thing there? That right there is like a gutter. And that gutter goes all the way here to a downspout, and it's just pouring, it'll pour water on a very rainy day onto this green space. The side of the building here is kind of like the let's don't look at this side. It's not the public side, it's not on the street side. This is actually the back side, although there is a street on this side. The main street is opposite this side. There's actually a sign here on the side of this building, or this shipping container, and it says, "This is a 9'6" high container, not 8'6". I'm not sure why that's there. It's good to know. High cubes are 9'6", as you know, and that's what you would want to use when you're building a building with shipping containers. Why you put it there? Maybe that's what the retailer had on theirs, and they just kept it on there. Down below, here's the design they have for the pier. And so they just welded a new steel beam, W-flange, onto a tube, which is welded onto a plate. And the plate probably has rebar, and it's going down inside of this pier. And down below, they've got plumbing. And they used spray-on insulation. They have some compressor units also underneath here. Again, this is the side that doesn't have slab. They use the piers. Here's the compressor units, and they have a gate that allows a person to go in there if they need to do some maintenance work in that area. And you can see the edge of the flooring. This whole side is pier foundation with some cantilevers. They used this, looks like a W12, maybe a W14, to span out for this walkway. But I don't see anything supporting that up there. This is really the main entrance to this whole complex. We kind of entered in from the side, the back side where the parking lot is, but this side is where the atrium is, and this big spanning 40-foot container This red box is used for their mail, and they have still the tag here. Those tags, check those out when you look at shipping containers. They've got a lot of information about the shipping containers themselves. And if you want to know what those tags mean, go to the blog. I have an article about that at liveincontainer.com, livinacontainer.com. But that's it. What do you think? How about a thumbs up if you like this type of video? If you want to see more tours of shipping container buildings like this, I love sharing this stuff. I just geek out about all the detail, the architectural detail, and things that I want to use in my own designs. And I hope they're useful for you. We'll talk to you later.